Today I'm going to be showing you two unique builds. One of them is going to be an all-around best setup for the Python, while the other, although superior in damage, isn't as viable as the all-around build, but still gets the job done. When comparing these two builds in Colossus fights, they won't take down bosses super efficiently. You will still have to face off against their immunity states when using either of the builds, and destroying the points that will remove this immune state isn't efficient for one build like it is for the other. But taking on regular mobs, both of these formats do exceedingly well in performing the task. The real question is, which build are you going to focus on? Let's take a look at them now. Alright, so we're not going to be focusing on the reactor or the external components, neither any other weapon or Descendant modules. This is strictly about the Python. I did want to let you guys know that I do have this thing completely maxed out in terms of its unique ability. We have this at level 4, the recoil is going to be 0%, duration is going to last for 2 seconds, and the max stack increases by 28. Okay, if we look at the original weapon, because I did see some comments before that there was no changes in the weapon itself. So if we look at Python here, come over here, search one for the details, unique ability, 30% increase in recoil, a 1 second duration with a 20 max stacks. Okay, you can see the differences, 0%, 2 seconds, and 28. I do have about 10 catalysts on this build only because I had to change some things around, but you don't necessarily need 10. I'll show you all the module sockets that I have put on this weapon for each build, so that way you're secure and ready to go. Now for the first build, we're really going to be focusing on everything weak point damage. We're going to completely ignore this number here. This number does not matter. Okay, this is not the final definition of the damage of the weapon. It actually does a lot more, but it's just going off a base attack. Weak point aiming for the increase in accuracy. If you'd like it, it's an added bonus. I don't really level it up. I don't really need that. The minus 0% recoil and the unique ability makes this amazing, but we are doing this for the weak point damage plus 2%. Rifling reinforcement for an extra damage. Weak point damage from half aiming, because half aiming is absolutely necessary on this gun. It's a weak point gun if we bring up the applied values here and necessarily take a build that has absolutely nothing on it. You can see our weak point damage starts at 2 times. That's really incredible, and then when adding all these other mods to it, we can get it up to about 3.62 times the weak point damage, which is pretty amazing. We have more weak point damage with weak point sight, an extra 35%. Target detection for the weak point damage plus 2%. Real life fighter, this guy will decrease your accuracy by 20%, but upon successfully attacking a weak point, your firearm will increase, if you have this maxed out, 10% and up to 10 stacks, which is about an increase of 100% firearm attack, which is just amazing. This mod is necessary if you're really going to be building for those weak points, because the damage stack is just absolutely insane. Fire rate up for an increase in 25%. Consume magazines for more weak point damage, and this helps our reload, which does, inflict the damage per second. Faster reload, faster bullets out, faster damage. Expand weapon charge for a little bit more in the magazine. And weapon tuning for firearm attack increase plus 1%. Plus the rounds per magazine plus 30% is nice too. If we try and look for anything else that's going to be weak point damage, to try and really focus on this, there's the consume magazine for reload time modifier, but that's exactly what we already have on here. Weak point quick fire, which is 20% fire rate increase, and weak point damage plus 2%. But we don't want that, because the fire rate increase here of an extra 5% really makes the difference. If we try and change it out, we are going to lose DPS per second. So we really don't want to be focusing on that. Target detection for an extra weak point damage for firearm critical hit damage. We already have that on here. Weak point detection, which messes with half aiming, so we absolutely cannot do that. Focus fire for the extra weak point damage of 8%, but like I said, the weak point strike, you'll see it, it's just going to conflict with that one and you'll have to replace it. So there's no real other weak point mods. This is the maximum that you can really do. For this weapon, it is absolutely amazing for doing some decent damage. I'll show you the damage here now. So we'll just unload a little magazine into this guy, and you can see all those little yellow numbers. Those are your weak point hit numbers, and we're getting about what? Let's see if we can just proc one real quick. Boom. 27,655 for that one, and then real life fighter will just keep procking and procking and procking to get those numbers a little bit higher, over 30,000. That's pretty good in my opinion, but as we're shredding through a bunch of ammo, like look at my magazine already, I have 97 bullets. It really does shred through ammo like crazy, but you are going to be melting these guys pretty easily. We're just going to take it on a little test run here, killing these guys pretty quick. I mean, it's not bad at all. That's one magazine done. Oh yeah, this is nice. That's 2 magazines, and there's the last one dead. So about 3 magazines to kill a couple of elite Vulgus. Now we do have 2 mods, the target detection and the real life fighter, in the red, just because the attaching module sockets don't match. I'll show you an example. You see this one here, that's going to be your rutile, and this one is a malachite, so that really inflicts, so it increases your capacity even more. If you wanted to change things around, you could, just so you can get that lower thing and raise these to their max, and then expand the weapon charge and all that stuff. But I really don't recommend focusing on strictly just weak point mods. This weapon has a lot more damage to offer for it, as a base, and I'll show you that now with this build here. So taking a look, we definitely still focus on the weak point aspect of it, but this is more of an all-around build that increases our base damage, which is absolutely amazing for just taking on the Colossus fights. Like I mentioned before, when they're in their immunity state, this weapon is really good for destroying them. You don't waste as much ammo just because we increase magazine size, and it's a little bit easier to keep up with your ammunition, especially when facing just regular mobs. So we have weak point aiming for the plus 2% weak point damage. We have half aiming, of course, for an extra 40%, rifle reinforcement for increased damage, action and reaction for firearm attack, sharp precision shot. This does decrease your fire rate by 20%, but it'll increase your fire rate and your firearm attack every 0.5 seconds up to 10 stacks. So that's an increase in 40% fire rate and 60% firearm attack. Now you could probably get a little bit more damage out of it if you use real life fighter on this, but I simply don't, because I use this weapon mainly for FREYNA. So with the sharp precision shot, it really does affect her fourth ability. So I'll just show you that here now. We'll activate her fourth, and then as I'm shooting here, it starts off slow and then gets faster and faster, and then increases the damage overall of it. Real life fighter won't really affect her fourth, just because it is mainly afflicted by successfully attacking weak points. So you don't really get weak point hits with FREYNA's fourth. You get base damage and crit damage only. But just to go ahead and test it, we will go into a private intercept battle with you guys here, and I'll show you the differences. So we went ahead and just clipped on real life fighter by itself, nothing else on it, no increase in magazine size, nothing like that. We're strictly just going to test the real life fighter with FREYNA's fourth ability. So we're going to attack a weak point, boom, 97, what was that, 97,626? 97,626. Okay, we're going to restart this fight. Okay, now we're going to completely remove this mod, save that. We have absolutely no mods on here, no increased magazine, no real life fighter, absolutely just blank damage. We got 9705. Hit the weak point again, and there's 97,626. So even without the real life fighter mod on, I'll show you it. I'll let him kill me. It doesn't really matter. No real life fighter. We do the same amount of damage. It does not increase because we don't hit those weak points with FREYNA's fourth. We are strictly base damage and the critical damage when it procs. The next mod up is Toxic Enhancement, which adds toxic attack equal to 30% of firearm attack, which is beautiful. Our firearm attack is here, displayed here, 19093. Fire rate up for 25% increase in bullet speed, weapon tuning for rounds per magazine plus an additional firearm attack of 1%, reload focus to really get those magazines out and back in the gun to keep shooting more damage per second, and of course expand weapon charge. Now these two mods together are perfect for adding to FREYNA's fourth ability. It gives her more ammo and stuff like that. It's really a great combination if you want to go for that, and also if you're a FREYNA main like myself. But as you can tell, we definitely want sharp precision shot on, as this is overall just better in my opinion, just for the increase in fire rate for our fourth ability. I don't believe that the firearm attack plus 6% every 0.5 seconds actually affects FREYNA's fourth ability at all. I see the same numbers, a little over 500,000 critical damage with or without this mod on. The only thing that really affects it is the fire rate. But taking a look at this weapon build against the regular mobs, we're still mowing them down almost just as fast as the main weak point build. We will see some noticeable differences, but keeping up with our ammunition is really amazing. Like, that was only 2 magazines to take out the entire flock here when it was 3 before. So this build is definitely going to do you a lot more justice than the really weak, focusing mainly on the weak point build. Plus just overall magazine ammo and caring for that is really important, because our fire rate with all these mods equipped is 1229. That's a pretty fast fire rate, which actually increases a little bit, I believe, just because of the fire rate increase from this mod here. So it actually just mows down every enemy in sight, like no problem at all. But if you're really looking for a really strong Python build, then this is going to be the one you want to choose, because it's just overall the best possible one you could make for sustaining your ammunition, for doing good damage, and then once again leveling up 4 times just so you can decrease that overall recoil that it impacts you with, so you can be more accurate against those weak points. And then for our stat rolls, we have rounds per magazine, firearm attack, weak point damage, and toxic attack. I believe this is the best 4 combination. The rounds per magazine will affect FREYNA's fourth ability, giving her more ammunition for that ability. The firearm attack is just a base. We definitely want that on every weapon that we get. The weak point damage, because that's what this gun really focuses on, and the extra toxic attack. If you really don't care for the rounds per magazine too much, you could replace that with something like attack versus Colossus, but that's really only going to affect your Colossus fights. In terms of mobbing, that extra damage really isn't going to go anywhere. But this Python is just absolutely a machine when it comes to mobs and Colossus. In combination with FREYNA's fourth ability, you'll have no problem with using this online, or if you like soloing content, that's cool too. If you guys are looking for a more in-depth guide on FREYNA here, her build, the Descendant modules that I have on her. I'll leave a link to a great video that I just uploaded the other day in the description. You can go check that video out and definitely show it some love. The FREYNA build there is definitely a massacre for just slaying down hard mode bosses. It is great for you, trust me. And if you're wondering at all about the high critical build here, it was absolutely a bust. I pretty much just put everything that'll increase critical hit rate chance and critical damage, and it did not just bode well. It did not. It did not bode well because our base critical hit rate is 5%. The same pretty much as FREYNA. She starts at 5%, a really low chance. So it's not even worth building into, especially on this weapon, because those critical numbers are just not worth anything at all for you. Trust me on that, okay? And then of course you can see all my socket individual modules here, but if you want me to go here and here, I can show you that as well. You see we got 2 root tiles, 3 malachites, 2 xanthics I believe they're called, and then 3 cellurons. Or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Don't quote my amazing English in the comments, please. I appreciate that, you know. But I hope you guys enjoyed the build video, man. I hope you take something from it, learn something from it. If you tweak anything, let me know in the comments. Do you get more damage out of it? Is it a better overall for just killing down mobs, more damage against Colossus? Let me know, definitely, for sure. Remember to love others like you love yourself. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this all the way through if you did. Thank you for dropping a like and subscribing if you're new. We do post the first Descendant content, so if that's something you're interested in, just definitely subscribe to the channel because it's going to be crazy on the journey. Trust. Remember to stay safe because the world without you is nothing.